that I love about doing this show. Remember, I always tell you guys that we interview so many various types of people. It's a very wide cross section of persons who visit the brunch set. And so the discussion is so vast. It's from culture, it's to mental health, it's to sports, it's to agriculture, and the list goes on because we want to bring so much to you as possible and we want to reach as many people as possible so that at least one thing, one topic, one conversation resonates with someone who is watching the show. And this is what we endeavor to do here on Tobago Updates Television. I'm just a small part of the team that makes it happen right here. A pleasant good morning to my technical crew. Thank you for being so wonderful. Thank you for being so patient. And thank you for being so professional at what you do. My first guest, director of Impact Change Concepts, and she has been discussing so many things with me before. It's such a privilege to have her back again. Billie Sterling Lewis joins us, and we are going to have a wonderful discussion. Mindfulness of mental wellness. There's so many things that you can do with that. So many things. And I'm actually looking around because there is such a buzz in the studio today. There is such an energy that is, resonating with everyone who is here. And so I'm just taking it all in. So my eyes are buzzing, my brain is buzzing, and everything is just a buzz. It's a whole vibe, as they say. And let me just welcome you once again to Brunch, A Taste of Tobago. So my first guest, Billie Sterling Lewis, joins us, Director of Impact Change Concepts. Good morning to you, and welcome to Brunch.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I don't have my tea this morning, but I have a glass of water, so I hope that's okay.
Hmm. That should work. That water is always good. And my mom
Yeah.
always used to say, when you are thirsty, run to the sink. For water is the purest drink. She always said that.
Yes.
So you
I like
can't
that.
go
I'm gonna keep
wrong
that.
with water. So how have you been? Thank you for coming back and talking with me. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I am well, thank you. I am saying that recovering and hopeful, but I'm doing well and I'm grateful for that. Grateful to be
Yes.
on sharing with you guys. I love sharing on the health section because I know there's
Mm-hmm.
no health without mental health. So I'm glad that you
Yes.
guys continue to incorporate it into the program.
Yeah. And we have been talking so much about mental health. And on Monday I would have paid so much attention to my kings, as I call them,
Mhm.
because that's what you are. My men, you are kings. And sometimes we tend to brush you aside or sometimes under the rug. And the conversation, it really needs to change with regards to our kings in our space, in our region, in the world. And, we just celebrated International Men's Day. So that,
Yes.
we're piggybacking on all of these things that affect our men, our male psyche, family, how we interact. And it's so wonderful that you're here. So, mindfulness of mental wellness. I'm going to let you dive right in.
Thank you.
Tell
Well, let
us.
me just join you and say to our Tobago men, happy International Men's Day. It's not too late. I don't use belated anymore because we can
Yes.
continue to celebrate even past. And definitely mindfulness it's a buzzword now. It is a buzzword. For persons like me who are in psychotherapy, it has taken a whole lot more meaning in recent times as people move more into an integrated or holistic approach to mental health and wellness. And so when we talk about wellness or mindfulness for mental wellness, we're talking about using this particular technique to improve mental health. So let's start with what it is. And I am very mindful of the fact, mindfulness, that our
Mm-hmm.
population varied. And as a, for instance, a believer myself, as a trained psychologist, and as a believer of in terms of faith, I know a lot of people struggle with this word. It's often linked to ancient religions and practices, and some people who are faith think it's antichrist, but it really isn't. So when we talk about mindfulness, we're talking about that state of awareness that allows a person to be present focused. It's really about awareness and awareness in the present. And that means being aware of self, being aware of what your thoughts are at the moment, being aware of what your emotions and feelings are, being aware of how they're impacting those actions and what those actions ultimately come out to be. And that becomes important because we're in a fast paced world. You talked about that just now, where
Hmm.
everybody's buzzing. Life is so busy, we don't get time to stop anymore. And
Yes.
that busyness is causing us to have a lot of mental emotional collisions. So
Yeah.
that's just to start off in terms of what mental mindfulness is and what it does for mental wellness.
Yeah, and there's so many social media, as you see, practitioners, medical practitioners, psychologists, and everybody is coming forward, and mental health is such a wide topic. It's wide, it's
Mhm.
varied, and it's very much a part of every discussion at every corner, at every juncture, at every
Yeah.
turn. And another thing that comes up is the fact that we're always so busy. So mentioning that, it just spoke volumes to me because we're always so busy. I remember one activist, his name is Dick Gregory. He is
Mhm.
anti-racism activist, and so
Yeah.
he's saying that we society makes us busy. We get
Mm.
into everything and anything, and
Yeah.
that's when the mental illness starts to get snatched up. We are not
Yeah.
sleeping. We're not spending time with our families. We are not
Mm.
taking time to know and love ourselves spiritually. We're not going to
Yeah.
church. We're not doing so many things. And
Mm.
it really spoke volumes to me because it all encompassed mental health, which is so
Yeah.
vast. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I like that point that you made. And I just want to be fair to everybody out there because there may be somebody who's listening and saying, but you don't know my situation.
Right.
The truth is, life has become busy for many persons. And the truth is also that many persons don't know how to avoid it. They have to probably work multiple jobs to get an income to survive, for their family to do pretty okay, not even exponentially well, just pretty okay. Some persons are trying to escape the traumas or the memories or the flashbacks or just the life that they don't feel comfortable with. So they bury themselves in busyness and work. There are many persons who feel that they're running against the clock that is running out on them. And so they feel they must get everything done before the clock stops. Our life is so diverse. And that doesn't change the fact that even amidst the realities that we face, that we should take some time to be mindful and allow mindfulness to direct our life. For instance, for those who are faith, we call it soberness of mind, being aware, not being lethargic or unaware of what's going on. So even though life has you in a tight spot right now, and it feels like you can't do anything much. For instance, I hear clients say to me all the time, I don't really have the time. And I would say to them, just stop, take some time and walk a little bit, connect with the earth and go to the beach or walk on the grass. And they're like, I don't really have the time. If we can change from I don't have the time to I'm gonna carve some time out of the busyness, of the buzzing of my life, we give ourselves a better opportunity to operate life even amidst the hustle and bustle of it that we cannot escape, because some people cannot escape it. They can allow it to not consume them because they factor in moments of mindfulness, being aware, not worrying about what's coming next, not worrying about what went before, but being present, being able to stay right now in this moment where I'm at, where you and I are at right now, and enjoy the moment.
I love the fact that you said enjoy the moment because it
Mhm.
seems so very hard to do even
Yeah.
that. And it speaks to you as an individual choosing to tell yourself, listen, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to just take this time off, regardless of who's calling my phone, regardless, I'm going to take this time off. And, it brings me back to mindfulness because you have the power still to
Yeah.
choose what you want to let in and
Yes.
not let in, as the case might be. So
Yeah.
sometimes we blame the external factors that
Hmm.
should not, in truth and in fact, have all that power over
Yeah.
our decisions. So
Yeah.
this is
Correct.
something that had to I had to try changing my mindset for a very long time. And I have to say thanks to the pandemic for that.
Ah.
There was the good and the bad,
Yes.
but for
Yes.
me, the pandemic really forced me
Hmm.
into that feeding of my mindfulness and my spirituality.
Yeah.
Some
I,
of
I
the
mean, you
people,
said you go.
go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just saying you said two powerful things there. One is just using that word, my power.
Hmm.
And actually, when we live mindless lives, we are actually giving away our power. A big part of our power is that self-control with which comes through mindfulness. And the other thing you said, which I really loved, was the power of the pandemic. So the
Hmm.
truth is, I say this a lot of times. The pandemic destroyed a lot of things, but fixed so many because it brought us to a screeching halt in our minds. Well, I mean, some of us still had racing minds. I did at some point because we
Yes.
had to keep the numbers and the figures and the deaths and the sadness. Um, but it brought us to a place where we had to face ourselves. And we had to face ourselves. We had to become mindful of what our reality was. What is it? Is it a positive, healthy, hopeful, life giving reality? Or was it the opposite? And not only that, we were not stuck there. Hopefully, we were not. We were allowed to then decide, am I going to allow myself to remain there? So when I come out of this, am I going to come out different and better? And when we talk about mindfulness in that context, for instance, even through the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of people use this because we were trying to teach people this in terms of survival mechanisms that you could just pull from the hat. We have four basic things that I generally teach when it comes to mindfulness. We have the mindful breath. We have the mindful meditation. And I always include prayer with the meditation. So, prayer and meditation. And we have mindful movement. We also do mindful eating. And I love that because part of what I do and I love is life transformation through holistic lifestyle changes. So, you can also add the eating to that because we nourish our brain through nourishing our bodies. But in those moments, like the pandemic showed us, and even now, we have kind of gone back on the fast track. We have kind of said, okay, this is done. Let me go back to my madness. And some people are happy to say, I have method to my madness, or this chaos is my calm. We say all kind of funny things that really don't help us over time. But we have to understand that we don't want to always allow tragedy or calamity or pandemics to bring us to the place of mindfulness. If we practice this, if we live in this place all the time, when these things come that we have no control over, we are better able to get to. So the power we have is a measure of self control that says, I don't have to run forward into the future because I can't see it, I can't control it. And I don't have to go crawling back to the past because it's done and I can't change it. But right now, in this moment, the result of what has happened before and the anticipation of what can come in this said moment, what can I do? What can I do?
Yes, yes.
And like I said earlier, moving away from the anxiety, and I just want to say this quickly because I know we ultimately get into this. The power of the breath. Let me start with that one. I always do breath. Breath is life. I love the Bible. The Bible says he formed man and he breathed into him the breath of life and he became a living soul. So, we can't survive more than 3 minutes without breath, right? We're going to die. Even if we don't die, we can go up about 7 minutes. Ultimately, about 3 minutes, your brain is going to get cut off. And then after that, we're going to just wait and see when you die, but without the breath. But the same thing happens in anxiety. Anxiety changes our natural breath. For instance, anxiety and depression, two strong negative emotions, they both change our natural breathing pattern. Think about somebody who's anxious, who's having a panic attack. This is how they look. I look a little dramatic, but that's how it looks. And somebody who is depressed and sad and in grief and mourning, that's how they look. That's how they're breathing. In many instances, both of those types of breaths are abnormal and they're moving us from abnormal states of being. And the mindful breath allows us through calculating, I use that term, our breath, using the numbers, we can use the box square, this box breathing, the square breathing, we call it box or square, for instance. It brings us back into a natural breath-like state where we're breathing and the air is moving through our body. And that is mindfulness. The anxious state with the anxious breath takes us into the future, which we're not even there yet. Our mind is taking us there, it's disrupting our body. And here's what, if we stay in an anxious, a depressed, a downtrodden state long enough, it's going to affect our body, it's
And
going
I
to
love
affect
the
our
fact
health.
that you said we if we stay in a downtrodden frame of mind and spirit long enough, it will affect us. So we're going to take a break and we're going to continue when we come back because this is a wonderful conversation. We're going to be right back with more from Billie Sterling Lewis on Brunch, A Taste of Tobago. We'll be right back, guys.
Light up the Christmas with the best fiber. Surfboard.
Are talking mindfulness and mental wellness, which is such a buzzing topic in our space. And let me just reintroduce Billie Sterling Lewis to the set. And, we were having such a wonderful conversation. I mean, you were really getting into the power of the state of mind and
Yeah.
how it affects us. And it either affects us positively or negatively. And I don't think we even begin to delve in just how powerful this is. So you were getting into it before we broke for that short space of time. So let's just get back into our discussion. You were speaking on the downtrodden frame of
Yes.
mind and how it affects us. So let's take it from there.
Yeah, sure. What I was saying is if we stay in that downtrodden or depressed or anxious state long enough, our bodies will follow suit. We will become sick. So our mind, and we talk about this principle, mind over matter. It's not necessarily mind over matter, but mind fuels the matter, not matter meaning the substance.
Hmm.
So I'm going to share these three thoughts with us quickly. I want you to remember this. The reason why we don't want you to stay in that anxious, depressed, downtrodden, whatever negative emotional state that you find yourself in, we want to introduce the mindfulness, is because one of the first things that we see happening is that our thoughts become disordered. Now, mindfulness allows you to become aware of the fact that your thoughts are not facts. That's one of the
Oh,
first things.
yes.
And your feelings are not your foes. And then our experiences are not eternal. So those are the three things I want to hold on to. Thoughts aren't always facts. Our feelings are not our foes, even the negative ones. Yes, even the depressed and anxious feelings, they're not our foes, they're not our enemies. And our experiences are not eternal, meaning no experience lasts forever. So if you find yourself in an experience that brings negative emotions, you don't have to be afraid of that negative emotion. One, because the experience is not going to be eternal, it's not going to last forever. And that feeling doesn't have to define you. I like to say our feelings don't define us, they can direct us. But we need to be in that present state of awareness that takes us out of the whole realm of the feeling and the experience and say, right now, I am going through this, but it's not going to be my eternal state. And that's so important. So, mindfulness and practicing the breath, I'll talk about the other one just now, the meditation, the prayer, and the movement helps us to move past these three things that so many times can cause us to live in a cocoon of unwellness.
And the words that you use there, a cocoon of unwellness. And you know, when
Mhm.
you hear that word cocoon, it's like you are so shackled in. It's like you are imprisoned by
Yeah,
whatever is holding you back. You're imprisoned.
yeah,
You're in a mind prison, as a matter of fact. And that is a terrible place to be because your
yes,
mind is now in control and is the
mhm,
center of what you decide to do and not do, what you decide to let
mhm,
in and not let in. So it's so important to have or harness
yeah,
positivity in your life, in your space. For some of us, it's hard to do because you tend to have to get to know yourself.
yeah,
And getting to know yourself means you have to delve into all of the tragedies that you may have faced, you know, the instances where
mm,
you were not treated fairly, the instances that you would rather forget. You know, it's a
yes,
whole barrage of feelings that come in there. And so we tend to not want to delve in. And I think
yeah.
that's probably one of the issues that we keep having. But just quickly, what are the other methods? So we spoke about breath,
The
and you were
breath,
gonna,
yes.
right, go into the other
So we
methods really
have
quickly.
Sure, we have meditation and prayer, and that is really zeroing in on something that helps to raise or give life to your mind, your body, your spirit, and also speaking to God. So we use prayer as conversation with God. And I love to add to this grounding, and grounding includes just connecting with what is right now in front of you or next to you. So we do grounding as simple as, touching your chair arm. What does that feel like? Because right now you're feeling like you're going to faint out. But hey, touch the chair arm. It's hard, it's cold. But the one I love most is when we allow ourselves to get barefooted and connect with the ground. That could not concrete. But if that's all you have, start there. But that's the dirt, that's the grass, that's the sand, that's the water in the sea or a lake or a pond. Connecting with the earth allows us to reconnect. As a matter of fact, this is for somebody who's dealing with anxiety. One of the things we have found with persons going through an anxious or an anxiety attack, an anxious state, anxiety or panic attack, if they allow themselves to be splashed with cold water, that shocks the body into awareness and present awareness and allows them to be able to begin to refocus. Connecting with the earth does that. It allows healthy, we call it energy, not a negative word, but that's the frequency from the earth to go through our bodies and allow us to recenter. And the last one, so that's prayer, meditation, and grounding. And the last one is movement. I
Hmm.
always say this: a body in motion stays in motion. That's physics, right? I did physics. I love physics, right? A body at rest stays at rest. And too many times, our situations cause us to pause and not move as we should. And people would say to me often, they would say, well, I can't get to the gym. I don't have money to join a gym right now. And I'm often saying, you don't have to join a gym. Do you have a radio? Do you have TV? Do you have YouTube? Put on something and move. And it's as simple as dancing. Do you know what? That's why Zumba is so effective? It's not about only the weight loss. Zumba allows the movement in the body and the hormones to be released that brings us in that moment. People who are going through stress, who go to, for instance, a Zumba or an aerobics class, will say, but I don't remember that. During that hour, I was just in my element and I was good because the movement allows them to feel better. So find whatever movement works for you. If it's walking, if it's jumping, if a trampoline, go jump in it for 20 minutes. If you can dance and bubble and whine and shake and whatever you can do in your kitchen and your hallway. I tell people, you have a hallway long enough to run up and down the hallway. Or if you can go for a more organized walk or exercise class, do that. But mindfulness includes that the breath, the mindful breath, the movement, the meditation, the prayer, the grounding. And I know we don't have much time, but if you can incorporate eating, mindfully eating, meaning eating foods that will fuel your body, live foods that give us life, and eating in a way that allows us to connect with our food, not gobbling it down because we have so much to get back to that we have to eat this food quick so we don't get gas, because that's what we do, right? And then we wonder why our body doesn't work so well. Half of the time we're gobbling down our food, our breath is being interrupted, and we're gasping for breath while we're stuffing our stomach, and we wonder why we're sick. There are processes that the body needs to work, and timing is a part of it. Coming back to the present, being sober minded, allowing ourselves to focus here and now, even if it's not positive, but remembering, even in the not so positive moments, the emotions that we have about them are not our enemies, they're not our foes. So, those are some of the things that we often use with mindfulness.
And unfortunately, we are out of time.
Ah,
I love these discussions, and you definitely have to come back because we have so much more to speak on. So, thank you so much for being a part of Brunch, from our family to yours. We wish you blessings, peace, love, and light, and success in whatever you endeavor to do. So, you take
thank you.
care
You too.
and you have a blessed day. And guys, that was Billie Sterling Lewis, and we were speaking on mental health, mental mindfulness, and mental wellness, and a wonderful conversation at that. But we're going to take a break right now. We're going to be right back with more Brunch, a taste of Tobago. Ion Bago is next, and we have a wonderful discussion ahead. But before we do that, our trivia question for today is very interesting. There is a beach in Tobago famous for its pink sand. What is the name of that beach? Our answer at the end of the show. We'll be back with Brunch, a taste of Tobago.